Hey guys, CoolDarn.com, and of course the House of Biceps. I'm coming to you hot from Casa del Darden. I've got a client that's having some serious issues with some bicep tendinitis and some shoulder-itis, I believe. I sent him after some good old DMSO, so we're going to go through the motions on how he can use it best. DMSO dimethyl sulfoxide. This is the gel. It's 90% by volume. I don't think it makes any difference. People talk about the liquid is 98, 99%, whatever. They just mix the liquid with water to turn it into a gel, as far as I know. It doesn't mean it's any stronger, 99.9% pure, whatever the heck that really means. Now, my client is having the bicep-itis. I'm not a huge fan of anti-inflammatories or painkillers just to be able to train. If you've got to meet, that's one thing, but if you're just going to the gym to go to the gym, well, that's something completely different. We need to look at pain management or pain resourcefulness from a different angle. Now, DMSO, a lot of people will tell you is an anti-inflammatory or a painkiller. Maybe, but let's look at it from a different way. This works in a very similar fashion as massage, compression, using voodoo floss, foam rolling, a lot of the super D smashing stuff. Anything where you're getting in there and moving stuff around, well, that's kind of how DMSO works. In fact, I know several junior baseball and softball teams that practically survive their road trips by using DMSO. A lot of kids get hit with balls playing in outfield. They get these nice big bruises on their calves or legs, arms, whatnot. It makes it very difficult to play. Well, they will rub some good old DMSO on there, break up that scar tissue, break up that bruise, they're ready to go the next day. And that's the same way we want to look with any kind of injury. Now, if you have a serious injury, some kind of tear, or something is about to tear, this is not going to make it any better. A lot of people will say that DMSO will make injuries happen quicker. It's masking the pain. That's not the truth. It's masking the cause of what's going on. So if you are having bicep pain because you have some kind of posture issues, or you have a rear delt or a rotator cuff weakness, some kind of inflexibility from fingertip to the center of your body, all of which are highly likely with anyone who has bicep tendinitis, then this is going to help break everything up, but it's not going to be the solution to you getting rid of bicep tendinitis long term. And that means eventually you are going to have an injury or a really long layoff. Now, I think one of the big misconceptions people have about DMSO, one of the common things that you read on message boards and you hear around the gym about DMSO is to be careful. This carries all kinds of germs and bacteria through the skin. It can make you very, very sick. To be quite honest, the only person I think it's going to make sick is the person who smells your breath after you put this on. People keep saying to wear latex gloves for a sterile environment. Well, they obviously have no idea what a sterile environment is. This is not a sterile product. Once you have ever opened the jar, it is no longer sterile. Once you have put your hand in it, even with a latex glove, because a latex glove is not sterile, then it is no longer a sterile environment. So saying that you need to wash your hands and disinfect and to keep everything sterile, that's a big, huge misconception. Not saying you shouldn't be clean, though. It's never a bad thing to stay as clean as possible. Now, I've got some issues going on with my bicep. My lower bicep is really, really tight. So I'm going to demonstrate this technique on my arm. I do use some alcohol. It does kill any kind of germs maybe that might be on that area. I think one of the big things that it does, I think it opens up the pores a little bit so the DMSO can go inside and work a little bit quicker, a little bit more efficiently and effectively. It's not an exact science. Now all you have to do is just open up the old DMSO, take some out with your hand, layer it on. You don't want to rub it in. You want to let it soak in, let it soak on. I'm going to put a good little amount down here in the special areas, and I'm not worried about how it's going to make me or my breath smell because my wife is out of town. She's going to be out of town for about a week. So this smell will be out of my system, hopefully, by the time she gets home. I do want to have a good little bit on this area. I've got some tightness down here. Hopefully it can break up the tightness. Now with your bicep tendinitis, you're probably going to have this tightness in the bicep, the shoulder, the rear delt, and all that area where the bar sits on your back, where you're squatting and doing good morning. So you want to hit that area too, if you can. Maybe even your lat. Now an option you can use with this is a little bit of aspirin. Now I'm going to take one aspirin just between my two fingers here, whichever fingers that it fits best. And I'm just going to press on that area where it's hurting and rub in. Now, DMSO is a solvent. You can look at it as something like paint thinner. So it's going to dissolve the aspirin, and it's going to carry it through my skin and into this area. Now, does that mean it's going to use the aspirin only in that area that I'm rubbing it? Absolutely not. It's going to hit that area first. It is going to hit the bloodstream, and it is going to basically work systemically throughout my entire body. But it is going to hit this area first. It does work better on, let's say, elbows, knuckles, knees, things where the source of the pain is really, really close. The bicep might not be bad because the skin is normally very thin in and around the bicep. If you have something around the shoulder, pec, hamstring, it might not be the easiest. This aspirin is actually dissolving pretty quick. You just want to continue rubbing until it's all gone. And if you want, you can spread that sucker around, hit the shoulder. You can probably see my skin a little bit where the DMSO is already going in. A little bit of slight skin irritation. If you don't use the rubbing alcohol before, it won't open your pores near as much. And I think that red skin irritation, that people call it, it's just the DMSO going through the skin. I think if you don't get any kind of redness, it's probably not going through your skin near as well as it possibly could. That aspirin's about 3/4 of the way gone. Now for your tendinitis, you want to trace all the areas that hurt. You want to go down into the forearm. You can go all the way down into those extensor muscles that can lead to any kind of pain. You want to hit all the way around that bicep connection area and follow it all the way up through your shoulder. You can even hit down through your pec, get a good stretch through the lat, through the rear delt, and all the way around that rotator cuff. Chances are if you're having bicep tendinitis, it's not just the bicep, it's all those little connections around it that's causing that problem. All right, now this aspirin is almost gone. It's at the point where it's hard for me to hold it between my fingers. I'll just rub that in as long as I can, because I want to get every bit of that 325 milligrams of aspirin in my body. All right, now the aspirin is breaking up into small pieces now. So that is pretty much done. If you want to go ahead and get all of it in, you can add maybe a little more DMSO, but I've got more than enough on. The DMSO is almost all the way in, and that aspirin is now paper thin, broken up. The rest of that is carried into my body, directly into that area before it spreads out. So when should you use this? Well, if you've got a really huge training session coming up, and I've done this for my knee, if I've got some serious knee pain and I don't want to take any other anti-inflammatories, I've used this for knee pain, for elbow pain, for shoulder pain, for bicep pain. But I try to use this only when absolutely necessary, when I have to, when it's getting down to the final weeks before a meet, I'll use this to train. Otherwise, I use this as a pre-therapy tool. I get rid of the pain, then I start doing every bit of therapy I can do. Smashing, rotator cuffs, stretching, mobility, everything I can think of to make that bicep healthier so I can be ready for the next training session. All right, guys, from the House of Biceps and Casa del Darden, this is just one of the ways that you can use DMSO and aspirin for your bicep tendinitis.